welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you. Hit the mute button on accident there. Anyway, thank you. Everyone is a fan of something, and we have got something for every fan, including those of you that are big outdoorsmen and outdoors women, because today is a very special day, or tonight is a very special night, depending on when you're listening to this, when this great episode is hitting your ear holes with such outdoorsy joy that you can smell the campfire and you can hear the water lapping up against the shore. It is an Outdoors Division special as All-Star Bass Fishing, that little creation of our good friend Bobby Brown, and his Bass Battles. Season 3 is concluding this weekend for the Oregon Coastal Championships, which you will be able to view on Facebook Live, which you need to go and like All-Star Bass Fishing, and you can see the updates there, and their YouTube channel, so make sure that you are subscribed to that as well. There's a link on their Facebook page, so I'm not going to tell you how to get to one and not the other, because in all honesty, you just need to be doing the one, which is you go to the Facebook page, All-Star Bass Fishing, okay? And then you scroll a little bit and you see that they have not only a website, but they have a YouTube channel. You click the link, you hit subscribe, everybody wins! But this weekend, only one can win, as the Bass Battles bracket-style fishing tournament, one of its kind. Just a very one of one. I don't know of any other tournaments doing what Bobby Brown and All-Star Bass Fishing is doing, but they're started out with several anglers, and they are now down to just 3, and it is head to head as we have the rookie Ron Six, the veteran David Mays, and the champion, that's right, he is a 2-time back-to-back champion going for his 3rd, Jeremy McKay. I have conversations with all 3 coming up, because this is one of those great moments, one of those special occasions, one of my favorite type of episodes where we dive in deep to one singular topic and we let the men, the people, the women, the competitors talk all about the event and themselves. And that's exactly what we're going to do here coming up in a little bit. So for those of you in the Oregon area, I suggest that you go and look up All-Star Bass Fishing, because it's down to 2 lakes. They're going to announce very soon. And then, of course, Sunday morning is blast off, and it's man versus man versus man versus everything. We talk about the elements, the weather, the fish, the body of water. Great conversations, really, with these 3 gentlemen. And so without really any further ado or more delay, here is my first conversation with the one of the 3 competitors, Ron Six. Enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is 1/3 of the Bass Battles Championship, Season 3, I believe, put on by Bobby Brown and All-Star Bass Fishing. It is Ron Six. He is one of the, he's a rookie. It's his first time in Bass Battles and his first trip to the championship. Ron, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Well, I gotta say, what Bobby has done with Bass Battles and All-Star Bass Fishing is really quite something. I follow a lot of sports, and I do love brackets. I don't follow basketball, but I will fill one out for March Madness. And here we have fishing, which is a matchup head-to-head in a bracket-style tournament. And I always wondered how this would work, and I talked with Bobby at great lengths about it. I said, there's going to be guys that they outweigh some of the winners, but because they weren't against them, they may or may not move on. So, as an angler, tell me about your first year experience. Like, what do you think of the concept? Walk me through this.
When I first started it, I thought, I think this is a great idea. Because everybody loves the pressure of filling those minutes. And, we're really fishing against the clock. But now, in this event, we're really fishing against another angler. And exactly what you said, we've seen some guys come in and, Jeremy, he's such a stick. He comes in with a big weight and it has nothing to do with me because I didn't fish against Jeremy, and I was able to move along in my brackets, sometimes win 4 fish. And it was just 4 of the right fish and fishing against the right angler. But so far, it's very thrilling to have this type of a weigh-in style, a head-to-head. Perfect timing with March Madness. So, I think it's great.
Yeah, it is. I feel like the phrase, the saying, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you, is the perfect metaphor for what we see here in bass battles. So this being its 3rd year and you being your first go-round with it, I mean, have you already made rivals? Like, are there already heated rivalries in this from your perspective?
Well, against bass fishing, of course, we're all pretty nice guys to each other, but don't let anybody trick you. We all want to knock the top guy off, which is Jeremy. We want to knock McKay off. That's who we want to beat. So as far as rivals go, no. But I do feel like there were certain battles that I knew that I was really going to have to focus up on and really get out there and fish a really clean game to win. Especially when I was up against Clint Meisner with Tackinich. I had never fished tack. And I went, oh boy, I've heard it's what we call the 80-20 leg. It's 80% looks bassy, but only 20% has them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat that you can prepare for who you're up against in this format. But yeah, I want to beat Jeremy. I want to beat David. That's why we're out there. I want to beat them all. But no rivals now. We're all good friends.
So tell me, because there'll be a question I'll ask you at the end here. How long you been fishing for, and where did you grow up fishing at?
I started my turn. I'm one of the fortunate few. My dad was a tournament fisherman.
Oh, wow.
So out on the Delta, one of his club members was D. Thomas. So, I learned to pitch and flip at the age of 8, and it really set in deep for me, the competition of fishing. It changes. Some people will say, being a competitive fisherman, does it take away from fishing? No, it changes it, though. You're never just out there, oh, let's just fish. It's not mindless. It's, on the contrary, it's ultimate focus. But I cut my teeth out there in California on the Delta, fishing tidal waters and 25-pound test. And then, I made my way to Arizona for 15 years, and I was fishing 6-pound test and catching fish in 30, 40, even caught a bass in 60 feet. So it's been a long journey for me, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd fish every single weekend if I could.
So how long would you say have you fished competitively then?
Well, I've fished club tournaments with my dad at probably 10.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm 50 now, so a good 40 years. I took a little time off to go to school, and so it's been a long time. And you know what? I still can't sleep the night before. Yeah.
I imagine that blast off comes off before you know it, so might as well not even worry about trying to set an alarm and miss it.
No, not at all. And I'll tell you, one of the most exhilarating times is, putting your head down to pray and then listening to the national anthem and then, getting going. It just, until you've done it, it's just unexplainable. Words can't carry what that actually does to you.
Well, I know that Bobby and I are supposed to have a friendly battle ourselves. We're friends with Brian Chapman of Willamette Weapons, and he actually painted me a custom lure for the colors of the show's outdoors division, and he had made Bobby a all-star colored themed lure. And I said, we need to go head to head. We need to try these out. We gotta make this fun. So we're working on that. But it is on my bucket list to do a bass tournament at some point. I know Bobby wants
Mm-hmm.
me to come down and host and do my thing, but I'm just like I want to be up against these guys, even if it's like
Oh, yeah.
exhibition. I wanna see if who I could go out there and maybe get one over on them. We'll see.
Absolutely. And there's nothing better than just, when you do these, you can feel the time pressuring you. You just, every minute is important. It's kind of like when you watch baseball. It's okay during the season. Playoff baseball, you're hanging on every pitch. Well, I mean, no pun intended, but that's what we're doing. We're pitching and hanging on every flip. It gets a lot of focus. But what I wanted to bring out is one of the things that I really enjoy about this all-star program, this head-to-head, is Bobby throws in a curveball every once in a while. And it's done well for me. He said, hey, reach into this bag. You have to fish one of these baits for an hour. And one of those baits was Jig Masters.
Oh, wow.
And it was a light wire jig. And I'll tell you, it's something that after that I went out, not kidding, and bought 30 of them. I love that jig. And it helped me, try a different jig style, one. And two, my big fish was caught during the 1 hour where we had to fish with that jig. So it was really great.
Yeah, he's got a great group of sponsors there. I've
wonderful,
looked through and talked with a few of them, and great products for sure. So let me ask you this: the question before my last question, and that is, I cover a lot of sports. Football, I feel, is one of the best pure team sports out there, even though the quarterback gets all the love. But it is 11 guys working together against 11 other guys, and anything can and will go wrong, and it's those mistakes that the other team has to try to capitalize on. Basketball, 5-on-5, one guy can kind of stand out more so than the others. Baseball, you got 9 guys on a baseball diamond, and it's the chess match, the playing between the pitcher and the batter. But when it comes to individual sports, we're talking UFC, MMA, tennis, golf, and then, of course, fishing. I'd say golf and fishing are probably the two closest because a golfer has to go and scout the course. He has to check the weather conditions. He has to know which club to use in what situation. You guys are going out. You're scouting the water. You guys are checking your baits. You're seeing what time of year it is, the water temperature, phases of the moon. I mean, there's so much that goes into before and during the actual act of fishing.
Absolutely.
Where would you say athletically and as a sport that this ranks as far as physically, emotionally, and, of course, mentally?
I would say right up there with all of them, because it is physical. If for those who think you're just sitting out there flipping, they haven't watched this fish. When you're pitching a jig, you have a certain motion, and you'll do it 4 hours in a row without trying anything else. And you get some shoulders start to ache a little bit.
Yep.
And standing on one leg, your trolling motor leg becomes an extension of your eyes. If you just look to the right, your leg automatically makes the adjustment and pushes you over to the right. So on that aspect, it's not, of course, as physical as something like football. But you know what? If you're hurt, you're going to be 20, 30 casts less than me. And that's what I always look at is, can I get more cast in? Can I get to my spots faster? Can I stay focused? And it's tough because it is along the line of golf. You make a bad shot, you can't remember that. You have to move on. One thing about us is we can only control half of this, and that's the upside of the water. Everything down below, we don't have a lot of control over. That fish has to eat it, and I have to somehow get it in the boat. So it does have a little more challenge, and the focus, it does have to be laser focus.
A lot of luck, I imagine, which is interesting. There's a lot of sports that have luck obviously involved, but this is it's kind of to a different degree, because it's a lot of unknown.
It is, but and then if you talk to the three that are up there, we're probably going to say luck has nothing to do with it. You have to know where this fish wants to live this time of year. I mean, if you get lucky because you catch one big fish, yeah. But to put yourself in an opportunity to catch another big fish and another big fish, we see plenty of tournaments where a guy will come in, have a 6, 7, 8 pounder and not win. And what we have to do, I think that most of the anglers will tell you, we'd rather come in with 5 4-pounders than one big fish and not win. Because then it shows that you're following the fish, you're on them, you know where they want to be and what they want to eat. So it takes a lot of the luck out of it, especially someone like Mays that I'm fishing against and McKay. Those guys don't get lucky every weekend, but yet they win every weekend.
That's very true. So last question
Sure.
for you here to wrap things up with the rookie Ron Six. What would a championship mean to you? A win this weekend, what would that mean as far as, I guess, your career and your season?
It was when I got to Oregon, being competitive and doing this for 40 years, I want to be competitive. I do want to win every tournament. And this shows me that, you know what? I can fish California, I can fish Arizona, I can fish Oregon, and I can be competitive. I would like to be one of the guys that people are gunning for. I want to be that guy.
The guy with the target on your back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Ron, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to share a bit of your story. It is your rookie season with Bass Battles, but you wouldn't have it any other way. You love it, and you're up against the Big Two, and you have a chance to win it all this weekend with All-Star Bass Fishing's Bass Battles Season 3. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You take care of yourself.
You too. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our Outdoors Division special for All-Star Bass Fishing and Bass Battles. It is the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of Bass Battles, Jeremy McKay. Mr. McKay, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to see the outcome. I wish I could be there physically in person, but Bobby is very excited about this third season of Bass Battles, and of course you're a two-time champion yourself, fishing for a third consecutive title, and it looks like here what his notes have is that you kind of do a little bit of everything when it comes to pro bass fishing. So just how good are you?
Well, I think it's just, it's a matter of putting in the time, putting in the effort all the way from, map study before you ever even see a body of water, Google Earth, putting in the work and then going out and trying to put it all together on the water.
Yeah, I just talked with Ron Six, and of course his perspective, this being his first season, probably a lot different from yours going into your third championship. But I said, this is a sport that it's a lot like golf, where it's you versus the elements. You got a golfer has to scout their course and make sure that they've got the right club for the right situation, and they're accounting for the weather and everything. But one thing that we didn't bring up that I wanted to mention, and I'll get your perspective on this, is that this is probably one of the only sports where your opponent doesn't even realize they're your opponent, and that's the fish. So for you, what's it like being a professional angler, and how much goes into being successful as far as your scouting, your prep, and then execution out on the water?
It is. I mean, I have a full-time job. Unfortunately, this isn't the only thing I do as of now, but I would like to get there. But, any free time I have, if I'm home from work, I'm on my laptop and I'm studying lake. I'm reading articles on previous, tournaments, past years. Any little bit of information I can get that might give me just that little bit of an edge. And then, taking it out there, trying to break down the body of water based on what you saw on the maps. And, but again, like you said, the fish don't know that we're even after them, so things don't always work out as planned, of course. But you try to set yourself up, put yourself in position to get bit. And, sometimes it happens and things go as planned. It's great.
Yeah, because the golfer doesn't have to worry about the hole moving on him, or if the hole is even going to be there at all when they tee off. And Ron said that, if you ask enough guys, they'd say that there's like no luck involved. I think there's got to be a little bit of luck involved. How much luck would you say is involved in something like this, especially coming from someone like you who's been so successful at it?
Yeah, I've always said it's 90%, what you do, and then 10% luck. And sometimes that 10% luck is the difference. But if you set yourself up, put yourself in position, and get yourself around fish, more often than not, you're gonna do well.
In your mind,
but again, it's never guaranteed. So
no, it's very much not.
Sometimes you feel like you did everything right, and put yourself where you needed to be, and the fish just don't cooperate.
Yeah, no, that's fishing, man. But you guys do it competitively. How long have you been a competitive fisherman?
I think I fished my first tournament at 12 or 13 years of age. I'm 37 now, so I've been doing it a while. I guess I've been fishing, pro-ams, fishing at the high level for the last 2 years now. So this would be year 2, and that's a completely different perspective. For one, you're putting a lot of money on the line.
Yeah,
you have to kind of, forget about that aspect of it, and go out and still, regardless of the competition you're against, still you against the fish. So it's, if you catch 20 pounds, it doesn't matter if you're in a club tournament, local at home, or if you're fishing a pro-am, for 50, 60 grand. It's still you against the fish. You catch 20 pounds, you're going to be right there.
When Bobby told me about what Bass Battles was, and he explained the concept, now I'm a huge sports fan. I mean, I don't follow collegiate basketball very closely, but I still fill out a bracket because it's what you do in March, and it's a lot of fun to see it play out or get busted and not play out. But for a sport like this, where it's you against another angler, and you could outweigh, if there's 10 anglers, you could outweigh 8 of them, but it's that 9th one that happened to be against you that outweighed you, and now you're not moving on. And I said, this is going to be something that you're going to have to get the right kind of guys with the right mindset that will thrive on this kind of competition. What caught your eye about it? What got you? Because clearly, you've done it. You've been successful at it, winning the first 2 championships. Now you're back for your 3rd. So there's something about this style that you must really enjoy then.
Yeah, and really it comes down to I love to fish by myself. As weird as it sounds, not having anybody else, tossing ideas out there, not messing with your train of thought. Just going out fishing by yourself. Just paying attention to the elements, the conditions, and listening to the fish. I for some reason I fish a lot better with by myself than I do if I have somebody who's in the boat helping me. As weird as that is, I mean, even pro-ams, you got a co in the back of the boat that's helping net and things like that. But still, they kind of changes your flow and the pace that you're fishing at when you have another person in the boat. So just the whole aspect of fishing solo, head to head, one guy against another guy in your own boats. That's what really lured me in. I knew I was going to love it from as soon as I heard about that. And you're right. You could go out and catch a 20-pound bag and be better than all of the field except for your competitor. So
yeah.
So I try to have the mindset I'm going out there. I want to catch the best bag out of the whole group. So that way you're guaranteed to move on. And that's always my goal. It doesn't always work out, but that's always my goal. And just go out and catch as much as I can possibly catch, and hopefully it's enough on that day.
Yeah, I mean, it at that point, it's kind of that's probably that 10% we were talking about. So, since it's head to head, and you've done this, this will be your 3rd one now. Talked with Ron about scouting location, doing the study, and you mentioned yourself reading articles, features on previous tournaments done there, what worked, what didn't. But now that it's not you versus a field of competitors, it's you against one other guy. Do you, and how do you scout your competitor, your opponent?
To be honest, I don't even I try not to even think about who I'm against. So, I mean, obviously right now we're down to the top 3. They're all great anglers, and it's not going to be easy. But regardless of how they do, if I go out, take care of my end of the deal, and catch 20 pounds is kind of always my goal, then, I'm going to feel pretty good about it. If I catch 20 pounds and one of them outweighs me, then, hats off to them. So, that's always kind of my perspective on it. Don't look too much into who I'm against, because it'll just mess with your head. It'll kind of get you defeated before you even start, so to speak. So I try not to worry too much about that. Just go out and do my thing, and hopefully I bring in more than they do.
Is this something where they're like you can do mind games with your opponent, try to get into their head, or is it more of a, you see who you're matched up with, and you just have to be better than them?
Oh, absolutely, you could. That's not really in my blood, but some guys it is. You could totally, play mind games with a guy, and try to psych him out before you ever get out there. But I don't. I try to just, be friendly and just, I guess, try to do your talking, with the fish on the scales. That's kind of what it comes down to. So you can talk all you want, but it really doesn't mean nothing till you put, meat on the scales, and that's what I try to do.
You are everybody's worst champion, just because it's easy for people to hate a champion that's cocky and doesn't get along with everybody, and they're very arrogant and all about themselves, and they play mind games or whatever. But you're all about the camaraderie, I guess even brotherhood out there on the water, and so it's probably people really want to not like you because you keep winning, but you're so nice about it, so they kind of have to default back to, well, he's a nice guy, I can't not like him.
Yeah, it's cool. We're all buddies. The fishing, especially in Oregon, the fishing community is pretty small. We all know one another. For the most part, we all like the heck out of one another, But as soon as we get on the water, then it's a little bit different. It's a competition at that point. But as soon as it's over, if I don't win, I'm honestly happy for the person that does. And that's as long as I know I did everything I could do. And it wasn't enough. I'm happy for whoever did go out and put us together, good enough to take the victory.
Gotcha. So, last question for you. Well, no, take that back. I got two left for you. This second to last one. Since you are pretty much like the entire history of bass battles, we're going into the third one, and you've won the first two. You could win a third one. What would you say as far as the different aspects of what bass battles is, which is you against one other person? You scout your location, you do your homework, your research, you check the weather, and then you have to go out and execute. Which would you say, as a champion, has been the key to your success? Is it the prep, the research, and everything beforehand, or is it the execution out on the water?
It's really, with bass battles, it's a little bit different because you can do all the prep and stuff like that. But like for the championship, we don't know exactly where it's going to be. We know it's down to 2 lakes. We're not sure where we're going to start, if we're going to fish one lake all day, if we're going to change it up, fish both lakes. So you can do all the study you want to do for these events, but at the same time, it's all about those quick decisions on the water because we don't know where we're going to go and when we're going to move. So we could end up on Syracuse, we could end up on Sutton. We don't know where we're going to be. So it's all a matter of those game time, so to speak, adjustments that you make out on the water based on the current conditions that make all the difference. So that's kind of been a key for me. I think, we last year in the championship, we got surprised and went to Wohink, which was probably the last lake I could have imagined we'd fish on. But just went out positive. Wohink, I think I'd fished it one other time, and I caught 2 fish for about 3 pounds. But I went out there positive and ended up catching almost 10 pounds, which was really good for that lake, and it was enough to win the championship. So stay positive, open-minded, be ready for anything. Because in bass battles, Bobby's going to throw some curveballs, and that's what's exciting about it. I really enjoy it.
Well, that's good. So last question then, what would a third championship mean to you?
It'd be cool. I've been thinking about it a little bit. I don't want to psych myself out, but like the more I think about how many rounds that we fished, how many battles I've been up against head-to-head against other guys, and at least at the coast level, haven't been beaten yet. So it's pretty crazy to think about it that way. And I'm not trying to psych myself out or put extra pressure on myself, but it's pretty cool. And to win a third one, would just be unbelievable in my mind. If you would have told me before the first bass battles that I would win the first 2 and be competing for a third one, I never would have believed it, just because there's so many variables. There is a 10% factor of luck in bass fishing, and so many things got to go right. You can go out and have a spectacular day, and the guy you're up against has an even more spectacular day. So a lot of things got to go right. So to win 3 in a row is pretty cool. It's like winning 3 Super Bowls in a row, it doesn't happen. So.
Well, I imagine you probably want to hoist up one of those trophies of the big ones like the FLW someday down the line. You feel like you're close to getting really competitive in one of those tournament circuits?
Yeah, last year I fished the FLW in September on the Delta, and I was fifth going into the final day. Made my first top 10, and
oh wow,
ended up 10th overall. But it was awesome. It was my first time fishing that fishery in the summertime, and fishing a lot of new water and just making game time decisions, and that was pretty cool. I mean, that was an awesome experience. To win one is not easy. I mean, there's great competition out of there. You know, fishing 3 straight days, everything's got to go well. You got to have fish put together, not just for 1 day, 2 days, but 3 days, and that's difficult. But I'm going to keep striving to win one, and that's my goal.
All right. Well, he is Jeremy McKay. He is the reigning, defending, undisputed Bass Battles champion, looking to three-peat, and we'll see if he can do that this weekend as Season 3 concludes, and he's got 2 other opponents that he's got to get through before he is crowned champion once again. But, hey, I thank you so much for your time and talking some bass fishing here on the show, Mr. McKay. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and can't wait for Sunday.
All right. Good luck to you this weekend.
Thanks. You have a good one.
You too.
All right. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is David Mays. He is 1/3 of the Bass Battles Season 3 Championship taking place this Sunday in Oregon, and quite the resume, Mr. Mays. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just ready to catch some fish this weekend.
Well, that's certainly what it's going to take. And I see here, so you were the 2018 Bass Battles Columbia River 3rd place. And then you are the only angler or contestant to make both the Coastal Championships and Bass Battles and the Columbia River Championships. But this would be your first championship win if you win against Jeremy McKay and Ron Six. Is that correct?
Yep, that is 100% correct. I pretty much live up right on the Columbia River, so that's kind of like my backyard, whereas this is kind of out of my element a little bit. So I enjoy this quite a bit more because I have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that work because, what Bobby Brown and All-Star Bass Fishing have done, in my mind, is really special, even though we see it all the time. But the comparison that I've made is, you have team sports that will do bracket style all the time, and of course you get seeded and you get matched up with another opponent. So you have March Madness, you have NFL playoffs, you have baseball playoffs, and you have to beat your opponent in advance. Nobody ever looks at those as far as, well, the Falcons scored more points than the Rams, even though they didn't play each other, so they should advance. But you do see that in a lot of other sports. And so, specifically bass fishing, where it's going by your weight. This is not like that. You can have 10 anglers. You, being one of the 10, could outweigh 8 others. But that 10th one is the guy you're up against, and he happens to outweigh you just enough to knock you out of the tournament. What's your feelings on this concept and what Bobby Brown's come up with?
I really love it. Me personally, as you said, everything with bass fishing locally, not on the pro level, is basically it's a team thing. And I personally like to weigh my fish against one other person's fish and not a whole other team. So as far as that goes, I just think this is, for me, the way to go. Over the years, I've fished a lot of team tournaments, and like you said, one guy can come in with a ton of fish, the next guy can, but the guy at the bottom can't win. Well, in this situation, you can definitely have 2 or 3 bad tournaments, and as long as you fish against the person who has one worse than you, you're still alive. So I'll take that definitely over, just having to go out and smash them every single time you're out. Now, you can definitely get smashed in the same bucket, but I've been fortunate enough. I haven't been the one with the biggest bag at every tournament, but I'm still alive and kicking, and at this point, I only need to have the biggest bag at one more tournament. So that's my plan at this point anyway.
Yeah, the saying that I brought up to Mr. Ron Six when I was talking with him is I said, this sounds like a classic. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. And that's this tournament style, you know?
Exactly. I like it, too. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, and what's funny is that I remember talking with Bobby at great lengths about this. I said, you got to tell me more about this. Like, how'd it come up? Like, how's it been received? Because, there's a lot of guys that they'll get into this knowing full well how it works. But then they have the weight that outweighs, all but one competitor, and it's the guy they went up against, and now they're throwing a fit. And I told him, I said, what you're doing is amazing, and I'm a huge fan of it and supporter of it, and I think it's a fantastic idea, but you have to have the right kind of competitor in order to really embrace what this is and know that when he's beat, he's been beat. And he's like, you're absolutely right, and that's what we've got with bass battles. And he said, these three, they're no exception. You, Mr. McKay, and Ron Six, the rookie, you guys fully understand and fully embrace what this means.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, there was a couple people who caught some really good bags, and they went home that day. So, I haven't been on that side of it, but I bet it was a long trip home, because like you said, when you outfish, all but one guy in the tournament and you're on your way home with nothing to show for it, that's got to sting pretty bad, But on the flip side, that should make you come back next year even more amped to try to get it done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as far as I go, like I said, I love it. I love the fact that you have to go out and do it on your own. It can't be the day that your teammate caught all the fish, but you're still getting something out of it. So, all in all, I think it's great that he's changing the game out here. And, I'd love to see quite a few more anglers jump on it, because it's really a great thing. You only have to pay once, and you get to fish multiple tournaments, and you don't get that in any other circuit out here. So, like I said, me personally, I love it,
Well, that is great to hear, and the analogy that we've been using is comparing what you guys do and this to golf, because there's a lot of similarities between the two. With golf, it is a one-person sport. You're not on a team. It's just you against your opponent or your opponents, and you're against the elements. You're against the weather. You need luck on your side, obviously, but you guys are going out there, you're scouting the bodies of water just like they would a course, and you guys are picking the right bait and the right rod and setup just like they would a club for a different hole. But the difference is, the beauty of what you guys do is that you have an opponent out there that doesn't even realize that they are your opponent, and that's the fish, because when a golfer tees off, he doesn't have to worry about the hole moving, or that it might not even be there. That hole is always going to be there. But for you guys, that's where the luck comes in my mind. Ron says that you've been doing it long enough, you don't need luck. But Jeremy says it's there's 10% luck in there for sure. Where do you weigh in on this?
For me personally, there's definitely some luck mixed in. And the reason why I say that is because at this point, we're not 100% sure where we're even fishing on Sunday. So one of the bodies of water that I've never thrown a hook in before. So I can go out there and give it all the skill I got, but if there's no luck involved, I'm probably going to be going home, kicking myself in the butt. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think there's some luck involved. That being said, I have fished quite a few places, in bigger tournaments all over the country now, to where you do have to be able to adjust on the fly, because if you don't, you're not going to do very good. So, you got to be able to put two and two together to get four sometimes,
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And, it's funny because Ron, being the newbie, the newcomer, the rookie, he's talking about how there is no luck involved. Well, I mean, there probably is in his mind, but he says if you do it, if you're successful at it long enough and you keep, duplicating your success year in and year out, then it becomes less and less about luck. And Jeremy seems to think that there's quite a big element of luck involved. And, here Jeremy has won 3 times in a row, and he's talking about how much luck there is, or he could win 3 times in a row. He's won twice in a row. He's in his 3rd championship. But my point remains the same, is that, here's a guy who's clearly what Ron is describing, and he's talking about how much luck is involved. And then Ron is the newcomer trying to dethrone Jeremy, talking about how, there's not really a whole lot of luck to it. So you guys are 3 great competitors, really.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad perspective, because you have to kind of feel like your skills are going to get you over. If you don't have faith in your skills, you probably wouldn't show up here to fish on your own anyway. So I think that's a good mindset. I just personally believe, that there's going to be some luck involved for me. That's all I can tell you. So, whatever works for them, but I'm definitely got my fingers crossed while I'm fishing. So I'm looking for some luck. I'll take it however it comes,
So how much research and planning and preparation do you put into something like this? Because your personality type, to me, sounds like the kind of guy that's just like, okay, we're fishing where? Okay, never been there, but we're going to get there and I'm going to find a spot. That spot looks good. Okay, let's pitch it. And you just kind of go. But I don't know how much of that is truth about you, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really a big thinker, so I do mentally prepare for it over and over in my mind. When you can't get out on the water, me personally, what works best for me is to at least think about it, look at Google Earth, kind of at least get an idea of what my plan is, what I'm aiming for to begin with. And then kind of, go from there, whether I need to slow down, move out, move in, deeper, shallower, depending on what the water temperature is when I get there, what the weather's doing. All that's going to play a factor into what angle I'm going to take to try to catch fish. In this circuit, we get a lot of curveballs thrown at us. So sometimes you're planning one thing and that gets taken right out because something gets changed, or you can't use nets, or you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of variables that can change how you have to approach it. So I'm 100% ready to go with whatever I have to deal with. But I do try to mentally prepare for what at least know where I'm going to attack to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. No argument here. So last couple of questions for you. First one being, what would you say is the most demanding part of what you guys do as far as professional angling? Is it the preparation, the scouting, knowing what you're working with as far as weather-wise, or is it the execution out there on the water?
Ooh, good question. The most demanding part for me is just, I'd say, God, that's a tough question. Probably the preparation, because even though a lot of these coastal lakes are the same, they all differ in their own way. So if you get tunnel vision thinking you're going to do what you did at the last place, because I'll be honest with you, I like to fish certain ways. And sometimes I have to get out of my comfort zone to catch fish. I can't catch them the way I want to. I have to catch them the way that they want to eat. And that's the toughest part for me, is knowing when to divert from what I like to do and switch over to what they're telling me that they want me to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's with this, it's making the decision in time, not wasting too much time doing something because that's what I want to do. That's the toughest part for me anyway,
Fair enough. And so how long have you been angling for competitively anyway, since you've clearly a veteran for bass battles and all-star bass fishing, but what kind of career are we looking at for you as far as coming up this Sunday?
Realistically, I've been fishing tournaments in Oregon since probably 1995. I think that 1994, 95 was the first year that I fished a competitive tournament, and it started at the club level. but I switched over to money tournaments really quick, and pretty much haven't looked back. With my family situations, it doesn't allow me to run all over the country every other month to fish a tournament, but I do take it pretty serious what I do locally. And, there have been a few national tournaments I have qualified for, and, you have to be ready for that. So realistically, yeah, I've been doing it, gosh, when I say it out loud, it's 25 years almost. So, yeah, it's been a while. I guess you could say I'm kind of a veteran.
Well, you've got two other guys in this finale coming up this weekend, and one is pretty much the entire history of this tournament. He's won the first two. We're going into the third. He will be in the third to possibly defend his crown. Well, I guess to defend his crown and possibly retain three-peat. And then you have a rookie, a rookie in Ron 6 who's going to be out there. I've asked both of them, and now I'll ask you, what would winning this championship mean to you?
To me, it would mean a lot because, like I said, I don't fish these lakes all that often. As a matter of fact, I'm more of a smallmouth fisherman than a largemouth fisherman. So to me, it'll make me feel good because I understand and get to see that, I can compete with everybody else on these largemouth as well, even though I don't quite get down here and fish for them the amount that I want to because it's, a few hundred miles from my house. So, I'd love to have that plaque on my mantle next to the other plaques that I have to show that, I was the coastal champion,
Fair enough. So you got the defending champion, who obviously if he wins would be a three-peat and just another championship to add to his growing collection. And then you have a rookie who said that, he wants to knock off the champ. He wants to beat Jeremy McKay. He wants to win this thing and be the new. For you, what happens in your mind if Ron wins this? Is it, well, at least it's not Jeremy, or is it like, really? A rookie beat me out?
Honestly, he's no rookie. Don't get it mixed up. He's no slouch. He knows how to fish. I'm not, so honestly, I wouldn't take it personal because there's a lot of people out there who are big sticks who haven't showed up to every tournament that's in the state. It doesn't take a tournament fisherman, a big time tournament fisherman to be in this format. Anybody could be anybody. You don't have to be the best fisherman in the world. You just have to be the best fisherman on that day. And that's what I'm going to go out there Sunday and try to be,
Well, it's certainly spoken like a true champion. We'll see if it's in the cards for David Mays to win his first ever Bass Battles Tournament Championship. And that is this Sunday, blast off in the early a.m. And I'm sorry that I can't physically be there, but I'm glad to be a part of it in some small way. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I wish all you guys the best of luck, and I certainly hope it's a beautiful day and a great tournament and even better finale for you.
Yeah, let's hope so. It'll be on Facebook, so you don't have to be there in person to watch it all go down. So, like I said, I plan on being prepared. I'm going to be prepared and ready for this, whatever curveball they decide to throw at us. So I'm going to go out there and give them heck, we'll say.
All right. Well, hey, Mr. Mays, I appreciate your time. Really do. All of you guys have been a real joy to talk to. So, again, best of luck this weekend, and you take care of yourself. He is David Mays in the All-Star Bass Fishing Bass Battles Tournament. You take care of yourself.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
And one more big thank you to my three special guests this evening or this morning or this afternoon. Whenever you're listening to this episode, just know that I thank my special guests for being awesome on this Outdoors Division special that we have in lieu of Bobby Brown's big Season 3 culmination, the finale of Bass Battles by All-Star Bass Fishing. So thank you so much again, Ron 6, David Mays, and Jeremy McKay. Don't forget to go and like them on Facebook. Check them out on social media, Instagram as well, All-Star Bass Fishing, Bass Battles, and of course Bobby Brown. But that will happen Sunday in Oregon. So good luck, gentlemen. May the Force be with you. After all, it is May the 4th tomorrow, May the 5th the next day. So I don't know how much Jedi power goes into a sport like this. But I imagine their rods are just like lightsabers. You must be one with the fish. You must be one with the Force. May whatever it is be with you guys. Good luck this weekend, and thank you all for tuning in to this special edition of the Fan Show. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.